Hello and good morning. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we made another Friday. That means the weekend is right around the corner where you get a chance to hang out with family, friends, your kids, maybe play some games, sleep a little bit later than normal. If you don't work weekends, I remember as a police officer for many, many, many years, I didn't get a weekend off. Hell, I don't think I got any of the major holidays off in the first 5 years. It was awful, but such is life of a rookie. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a great show. Of course, I'm hanging out with Korkenstein, Fuzzy Belvedere. We got two major topics to get into. First, of course, we're going to talk and continue the conversation of Fable. I think it's a conversation that needs to continue. I've already given my opinion on it. I have a couple additional thoughts on it because obviously it was a couple of days ago when it was announced of the delay. You had that interview with Craig Duncan via Tina Amini. And listen, the game looks amazing. It's in its alpha, which is bonkers. But listen, we have a lot to get into, actually, even a smaller topic before then. But before we get to any of that, I want to welcome in already nearly 100 people here. Thank you. Good morning for hanging out with us here. Korkenstein, how you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty excited. Just thinking about what 2026 is and what we haven't even heard yet is pretty insane. It's just way too much to think about, to be honest. But yeah, we'll talk more about that. Yeah, thanks for having me on again, bud.
Appreciate you being a part of it. And we're going to have a little fun today because it's all about games. It has always been about games. Xbox for many years did not have any games, and that's because they were struggling in the developer department. And then, well, they decided to go on a spending spree starting in 2018, Fuzzy Belvedere. And since then, they have racked up over 30 studios that are now not only producing games on Xbox and PC, they are going to be head of shop in PlayStation land as well as Nintendo. Now, listen, Nintendo is going to have their first party games and everyone's going to flock to them. I'm going to buy them. You're going to buy them. People in the chat are going to buy them. But you can't say the same for PlayStation. Right now, they are in a bit of a tailspin. They don't have a roadmap. And the only roadmap that we see in front of us are Xbox games. So it's actually great for PlayStation gamers because they get to play games that they would not normally play thanks to this multi-platform strategy. Good morning, kind sir. How you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, there's a lot of good news as far as for 2026, as far as the lineup is concerned, and we still got a pretty stacked year for 2025. So, looking forward to what we see in the second half. June showcase will more than likely enlighten us on that. But yeah, we want to have a good conversation on some of these games here today. So let's do this.
Well, you know what? I do want to open up with a small topic. Now, yesterday, I'm not sure if you guys and gals or anybody on the panel, I'm sure you have, Fuzzy Belvedere. That's why I'm going to you first, because it involves the Horizon Realms. What is that? Well, it's a lot of different places where you can drive cars. They have a big event happening on April 25th, 2025. It's called Horizon Realms. Again, this was posted by the official Forza website, which is awesome. But interestingly enough, and this is where I think that the leak for Forza Horizon 5 going to PlayStation is already there. Now, we don't have an official release date. Am I correct in saying so, Fuzzy? We just know that it's coming in the spring. Oh, you're muted, brother.
Sorry, I think it's going to be around that time frame between like maybe April 25th and 28th range. I think they're going to try to line it up, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Again, it's it's not a one-to-one. It's just a hypothetical guess based on the information that we have in front of us. Why do I say that, folks? I could show it to you on the screen, but what I have in front of me is the actual advertisement for the Horizon Realms. And it says available from April 25th, 2025. On the bottom of it, it says Xbox Game Pass, Xbox, Steam, PlayStation 5, which alludes, Fuzzy Belvedere, to PlayStation having the game already. Now, is it going to drop on April 25th? I don't know. Do I think it's going to drop potentially before it? Yes, because why add the PlayStation 5 logo if it's and when this is going to be available on the 25th if you're not going to have the game available after the 25th? It does it so is it a leak? Not really. We know that it's happening. We know that right now Forza Horizon 5 is the number one wish list game on PlayStation 5, and for good reason. And again, there are going to be trolls on both sides of the aisle. Some people, are condemning Xbox for doing this cross pollination thing, and I kind of still don't like it, but it just is what it is. And you have people, and this is the troll community, cheering on that they're getting Xbox games that they probably won't buy because they don't really buy PlayStation games. So I'm not expecting any miracles. Though, Fuzzy Belvedere, I do think the average gamer who is just just that. He's an average, him and her, or, just average gamers. They buy a couple of games a year. They only have a PlayStation 5 because they had a PlayStation 4 because it's the popular system. It's the normie console of choice, right? It's the most popular. It's the most recognized brand. I want to get your thoughts on this, man. This is, again, it's a huge deal for Playground Games that another entire platform is going to get a chance to play their game. Old heads like me still don't like it, but we also have to take a step back and understand the big business of it simply because of what has recently happened as soon as Monday. You had studio closures. You had a studio that was over 30 years old that just closed. Monolith is gone, right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg for 2025. There's going to be more studio closures. Just look what's happening with Tencent. They are potentially looking to close upwards of a dozen studios because they're trying to tighten their belts. And that means job loss. That means human beings that make games are not going to have a paycheck. Incredibly scary. But bringing us back around to Horizon Realms, again, this is a big event. And, well, PlayStation is getting a day one.
Yeah, I think everything is geared to line up so that way when they jump in, they'll have a pretty decent idea of where to go and what to do to be able to accumulate a lot of the cars. Like the big thing is there's 900 plus cars. I think it might even be closer to 1,000 at this point in this game. They're adding a few as well in that event, but I think the big thing is for those that just play the vanilla version of the game where it's just go through the festivals, upgrade them, do the road races, the cross country races, and the mud races or dirt off road and stuff like that. They'll be able to get a decent amount of cars. But if they want some of the newer cars that were added within the past year or so, these events at the in the realms, basically it's kind of like a revisiting of some of the events where those cars were the rarer cars were released or available for you to acquire. So they'll be able to get those right away. And anybody that is already on Xbox or PC that's missed them from previous events can acquire them that much faster as well. So I think this is the best way for them to kind of get their feet wet and have fun, have access to a lot of the cars without having to necessarily buy car packs or do the microtransactions. But they're more than welcome if they want to get the specific cars like the Universal cars and things like that, they can go ahead and buy those right off the rip. But for those that want like the latest Lamborghini or the latest Mustang, these events are going to help, direct you towards those cars, be able to pick them up and then have fun with them from there and go forward as far as, finding other rivals or possibly street race against Xbox and PC players and whatnot. But yeah, this is going to be a good way to send off the game for the next year or two, as we probably will see something for Horizon 6 this holiday. If it's a trailer, I don't know if it comes out this year, but I have a feeling we'll see something about 6 at least this year. So this will kind of hold them over until then.
I think we're going to get something at the June event. That's just me kind of spitballing here. I have not heard anything regarding it. It just makes sense. Mm-hmm. And again, second half of the show, folks, we're going to get into 2026. And again, I know people are like, boom, We're only in second month 2025. What are you talking about? But the reason why we bring it up is because the topic number 2 is going to be the Fable conversation. That was delayed. And a lot of people are okay with it. I actually didn't see anyone really upset about it because, one, I kind of think that we've all felt that could happen, but the deck is so stacked in 2025, and we have an article here that I'm going to bring up in a second that talks about what Greg Duncan had to say regarding not only the delay, but they're not worried about it, number one. And number two, they still have things that they haven't even shown yet that are coming out this year. That is pretty bugged out. But Korkenstein, let's bring you in on this. I so far on PlayStation 5, you can only wish list a game. So we don't know what the price is going to be. Is it going to be a full boat price? It probably should be because it's a full boat game, right? $69.99 on PlayStation. The question is, how many editions are there going to be? And is the standard edition going to be just that? And there's going to be this extra bonus edition that potentially is $100 that gives PlayStation 5 players all of the release DLC and all of the car packs. I'm not sure, but there's a reason why PlayStation gamers are excited for this. They don't have this type of racer. They have Gran Turismo 7. A lot of people really like it. It sold incredibly well. And that's probably why it's not in PlayStation Plus and probably why it has not been on sale. Like if you want to buy it on PlayStation Store, it's still $70. I mean, the game's a little bit old. I'm very surprised by that, but it has sold very well for PlayStation. Let's get your thoughts on this event happening and PlayStation gamers getting it day one.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty awesome. I mean, we all love Forza. I mean, especially Horizons, where it's more of the arcadey kind of play of the genre or the series. It's just all around just insanely fun to play. If I had to guess, they'd probably do what they're doing now, just simplifying it. Have a standard edition, and then have an ultimate edition, which, like you said, is probably gonna have all the car packs, everything that's released. Probably for $90 to $100, I would assume. And then they'll probably have, of course, early access. That seems to be the new norm. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with like a Horizon 5's Game Pass thing as well, just to kind of really show like, hey, something with Game Pass involved, at least for Xbox owners, to kind of really show, you're paying 120 for this, but Xbox is getting it for this. Xbox owners are getting it via Game Pass for $20 a month kind of thing, So kind of get what I'm saying. Something along the lines of that. I could see them maybe working in a deal or something, so Game Pass people are also getting something from even though it's an older game, maybe all the DLC or something, who knows. But it'll be interesting, like I said, to kind of see. This will be a pretty good test to see. I mean, they took off with Sea of Thieves. Everybody really likes Sea of Thieves. I wasn't sure how Grounded did or Hi-Fi Rush. I don't think
Hi-Fi Rush did not sell at all. It sold awful.
PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, but Grounded, I'm not sure about. But this is another, like, those weren't major triple A's. Those are a little bit more like double A's, I guess you could say. For those titles, or at least started as double A for Grounded, because I think they ramped up significantly. It was like a 10-man team or something originally, and then they ramped it up to a bigger team as it got closer and closer through early access. So with Forza, it's going to be interesting to see how PlayStation players take it. They're so used to just Gran Turismo, and to kind of have like a fun arcadey racing sim. I wonder if they'll get it re-reviewed.
Oh, of course it's going to get re-reviewed. Are you kidding me? IGN 7? No, IGN actually gave it a really good. They actually gave it a really good review. But I'm just saying that IGN is known as the 7 brand for when it comes to Xbox. So maybe this gets a 7. I don't know, but while I have you on the mic, and I'm going to bring it back to Fuzzy in a second. J Ram brings up a fantastic question. So let me just throw this up on the screen. J Ram, welcome to the show, brother. He asked a great question, and I saw some chatter. I saw some people talking about it, and I'd like our Forza expert in Fuzzy Belvedere to talk about this in a hot second. So J-Ram goes on to ask, how do you feel about the recent news that Forza Horizon 5 will feature on the Pro, have features on the Pro that are not on the Series S or X? I understand that it's going to have Pro features. There's no doubt about it, because I know Paris was talking about that, saying that it just makes sense that there's a Pro version, and games that are going to be going over there are probably going to have Pro enhanced things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be better than Xbox, because the Xbox Series X, let's call a spade, is a much more, it's the most powerful console right now. And now does the PS5 Pro do some things better? Sure, but it does some things worse. Like, just look at what happened with Monster Hunter. It was running so poorly using the pisser that they had to just knock it off, and they're not using it. And that's actually happened to quite a few games. So again, this is what they ran with. I mean, you had the guy from Digital Foundry actually call the PlayStation 5 Pro one of the worst renditions or releases of the generation, because it promised a lot and it did not deliver everything it promised. So what are those features, Korkenstein? I actually don't know, because they're not really saying. They're saying it's going to have PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced features. But does that necessarily mean that those features are better than the X? I don't know so much about that.
I think it's fair to say. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're gonna get the whole console war narrative, sadly, where PlayStation's getting, better graphical improvement stuff, over its own, Xbox users. Rabble, 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 rabble. I don't know. It's such so disingenuous take, like, because we have really no idea. I mean, yeah, like you said, how did that work out for you guys on Monster Hunter Wilds? Um, if I was, if I was the Fable developers, I would utilize whatever technology I have to make the best game possible.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah. And every developer is going to do that. This is why they've been talking more and more about the Xboxes everywhere, because genuinely, as a former developer, we want people to play our games. We want people to play the best versions. We want people to enjoy this art that we've just spent 6 years, 7 years away from family, friends, missed birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, because we were doing 16-hour days, 7 days a week kind of thing, building this art that we love. Like I said, I've used this analogy before, but it's, you're basically, it's like, you're having this baby, and that's your art. This game is your baby, and nobody wants to be like, hey, look at my ugly baby. They want to, they want to see, hey, look at this, look how amazing this baby is, look how great looking this baby is, this is so awesome. That's what they want, and they want everybody to see it. They want everybody to hold that baby, in a sense, and that's where you get it on every platform. As a developer, like I said, we want people to enjoy these games, and we want people to enjoy the best versions. It's not about console warring. It's not about this, it's, you're going to use the tech that you have at the available moment to make the best thing possible. And right now, that tech is PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm pretty sure if Xbox, in a next month or two, or in June, or even if they had a console, the Xbox Series X Pro, whatever, they would probably come out with a release that utilizes the same kind of tech and same things for like a free update. So I don't see a problem with it. I think it's a great thing. Develop the best game you can for gamers. It doesn't matter if it's for only Xbox gamers or only for PlayStation gamers. Just develop the best thing that you can.
I mean, listen, it again, like Paris said, it is going to have features to mirror the PlayStation 5 Pro. That absolutely makes sense. Will those features for the Belvedere be better than what's available on the Series X? I actually don't know. Maybe you do. And potentially, whatever features that they are advancing for the Pro could easily be transferred over to the X in a different way of making the game better. They've consistently updated the game. There has not been a month or a week that there hasn't been some sort of an update since 2021. They are consistently updating this game, not only with tracks, not only with cars, not only with events, not only with DLC, but with actual, running great looking game capabilities. What are your thoughts on this, Fuzzy? Because you are the expert when it comes to Forza. Is the PlayStation 5 Pro version going to, quote unquote, be better than the Xbox Series X version?
Yes, with one feature, but that one feature is only in the 30 frames mode, if I'm not mistaken.
You're talking about the ray tracing.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now, if you play it on the series consoles, you're not seeing ray tracing. It looks like ray tracing because Playground Games has figured out a way to do the screen space reflections better than most other studios, where the reflections you see on the car, especially when you're in like the hood cam, it looks like it's ray tracing because you're actually seeing the environment, not just the environment, but you're also seeing the other cars around you. So they've done some trickery with screen space reflection. This time around with the PS5 Pro in that same 30 frames, well, actually screen space reflections is even on the 60 frames version of the game. But when you play it on the PS5 Pro, you'll see the ray tracing, which is a little bit more processor intensive. It should be more realistic, but we'll have to see. I'm pretty sure Digital Foundries will do a side by side. We'll see if it's better. I think it's not going to look as clear in comparison because you are going to, so you don't slow the game down even more. They are going to have to make some sacrifices to go with the full on ray tracing, but side by side, we'll see which one shows better. But my gut is that the lighting aspect of it will look better on the PS5 Pro with the ray tracing. But as far as the clearness or the sharpness of the reflections will probably look better on the screen space that, Playground Games has been using. And that'll be the case if you just put it in like even on the regular PS5, I think it'll be on par with what we see on the Series X. But overall, is it worth the extra $200 in the PS5 Pro purchase? That's for that individual to decide. For me, I don't feel it's worth it. But then again, for those on the side of Xbox, if you want true on ray tracing, play it on PC, have a decent enough card that is, comfortable doing ray tracing, preferably probably NVIDIA, but many of the AMD cards are able to do it as far as the newer ones. But overall, I would say that's the only real advantage I've seen. It's just that they get kind of like a more blended mode as far as like for their performance. I think they get maybe a little bit of an uptick on like the environmental detail. So that's another thing that will you be able to tell the difference? We'll have to see. I'm pretty sure Digital Foundry will break it down better, but as someone that plays on the Series X in 60 frames mode or performance mode, and then plays it on my PC with all the bells and whistles turned on, good to those that bought it on PS5 Pro or that will buy it on PS5 Pro. That's probably the best console place to play as far as PlayStation, but as far as other games, like you mentioned when it came to Monster Hunter, we'll see. But Playground Games is better than some of these other studios as far as optimization. So we'll see how that turns out.
Well, interestingly enough, let me just go back to the chat here. Let me just find. So Fee Amory asks, why does it even matter? Well, it doesn't matter to me. I've been playing the game since 2021. It's fine. The game is an amazing game. I only brought it up simply because someone in the chat actually asked how we personally feel. I have no feelings towards it at all. This game is 4 years old. And Forza Horizon 6 is probably going to get announced this year for next year. So listen, more people are going to play Forza. again, understand, ladies and gentlemen, I would have never guessed this 10 years ago. I would even say 5 years ago. If you would have said this 5 years ago, gentlemen, I'd have been like, you must be out your goddamn mind. That's never going to happen. Well, here we are, 2025, and pretty much every Xbox game is going to be going to PlayStation. So why? I mean, do we have to have the conversation? Not really. We know why. It's money. But we also know that the more that they make from other places, Phil already said, that money that they make gets reinvested into the brand, which means that Xbox Game Pass continues to get flooded with games, and they continue first-party development. So money that they make from Forza Horizon 5 sales on Switch, which is probably going to go to Switch as well, and PlayStation 5 will further development for other Forza Horizon games. I mean, again, I don't like it, and I think a lot of the old graybeards don't like it. But that's just the way the business is. And I think most of us, I watched Dirk Griggety's Dark Man podcast yesterday. Again, I don't know how he does it for nearly 2 hours talking on the mic by himself. That guy is talented as all hell. He's like, yeah, most of us has just, accepted it. And he's not wrong. He's 100% right. What are you going to do? Are you going to chainsaw your Series X in half? Are you going to drop a refrigerator on your Series X? I saw that was online, which is why? Why would you do that? You're destroying a refrigerator and your Series X? Wow, talk about genius. Just saying. But Sean Johnson actually said something funny. Sean, let me see if I could find your comment because the chat is going fast here. Okay, so I can read it like just from memory. He said Xbox Series X 60 frames, PS5 Pro 61 frames. Maybe you get an extra frame. Are they going to have advantages? Yes. It's the pro version of the PlayStation 5, which the PlayStation 5 is a great console. It looks really good with the work that they do with it. Again, I don't know why anybody would be bothered by this. I know that there's going to be the warriors out there. They're going to be running narratives on both sides. Xbox let us down. Phil, you're going to see that for sure. And then, of course, there are certain trolls in the PlayStation community, which we don't name here because we don't do the name thing, that are going to be running with these narratives. Xbox L for Xboxes because PlayStation 5 running it better. We'll see. We'll let Digital Foundry tell us if it's running better. And if it is, giant W for PlayStation. Please go buy the game. But will they? That is ultimately the question. Gentlemen, before we get into Fable, I do want to go to the chat here. We have a couple of member chats as well as a super chat that just popped in here. Let's see. B. Martin 001, who's been a channel member for 22 months. Brother, that's almost 2 years. Thank you so much for the support. B. Martin says, let's have a great show. Like always, Mr. Boom. Well, that's very kind of you to say. I like doing this. I mean, I could talk about games. Well, I do talk about games 5 days a week, not 7 days a week, because I needed 2 days off to kind of just recharge the batteries. But I love this. This is a lot of fun. It's a hobby turned into a business, and we're just having a ton of fun with it. So thank you, B. Martin, for the support, brother, and thank you for the kind words. Sith Lord, our generous friend and brother, has been a channel member for a whopping 34 months. Thank you so much, Sith Lord. He goes on to say, weekend, what's that? I haven't had a weekend in 25 years. I miss them. Having a blast with Avowed. Just need to find more time to play. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of people who don't get off on the weekends, brother, and it stinks. Are there positions within the NYPD that have weekends off? Yes. When I was a youth officer, I followed the school schedule. I wasn't off when the schools were off because I wasn't a teacher. So I worked in other details. I usually did a lot of plainclothes stuff when I wasn't working in the schools, like undercover stuff. But when I followed the school schedule, so I worked Monday through Friday and was off Saturdays and Sundays. Usually I did overtime on Saturdays for that extra loot. But thank you so much for the support. As always, we have Fires 7. I think it's meant to be Fires 71. He drops a very generous $10 super chat, and he goes on to say, "Boom and crew, forgot to say this last week. Loved Avowed. Beat it within 55 hours. That's pretty good. With a rifle maxed out. Oh, that's awesome. As his main, and his secondary was a spell book. and his other build was a a spell book and fire sword. So enjoyable. Sad it's over. Love all your content, brother. That first of all, thank you so much for the kind words. And I keep saying this. I almost feel like I played the game wrong when I see someone roll through it using a long arm or the handguns or even the shoddy. Or I see someone using like lightning. Like I had like a lightning build, but I didn't really expand on the lightning. I used it. I just used most of it for, they have like this staff that you generate, and you kind of just stab. You saw me stabbing bears all over the place. I should have been like, held for crimes against bears. I stabbed so many of them. It's ridiculous. But again, that game just keeps giving. And I said this before, and I will have to say it again. I'm back to Call of Duty. I'm having a great time. I'm coming in top 3 almost every other game. It's awesome. I want to start playing Avowed again. I don't want to start from scratch. So I need the new game plus and the level cap to be raised. That's what I need to do because I want to max out everything. I know some people have. So I've actually seen people who've gotten 1,000 out of 1,000. I don't know how they did that. That is pretty wild. But I want a new game plus so I can run through it again, but I don't want to lose the stuff I have. I want to do a couple of different builds, with the fighter. I saw, again, I talked about this yesterday. I saw a build by Clobriel, an archer build, and it was dope and it was fast. And I'm like, my God, I barely use the ball. I'm like, yeah, this is garbage. Every time I find a ball, I just sell it. I don't even care. Korkenstein, I'm going to go right back to you. Let's talk Fable. Again, I've already talked it to death. I have not had a chance to sit down and talk with Korkenstein and Fuzzy Belvedere regarding the delay, which is fine. We're going to get into why it moving into 2026 is great for the team. Let them cook. And what 2026 actually looks like. That's going to be the last big topic of the show. But I want to get your thoughts on the actual gameplay that we saw. I mean, it really was a looker. I saw a lot of people, comparing it or equating it to what you'd get on a big PlayStation AAA game, like your Last of Us, your God of War. It looked, even in some points, even better than those games. It is exactly what I was hoping for. A realistic Witcher-esque type of graphic presentation with a serious story and still having and maintaining the British humor that the Fable trilogy is known for. What are your thoughts on what you saw?
It looked really, really great. Even for pre-alpha gameplay, I mean, more than likely that came from what's called a vertical slice. For those that don't know, a vertical slice is kind of a complete package of a game, essentially. It's not everything's 100%, but it has all the features and everything that you kind of want to show. And that's usually what they show to like either a publisher or if they're being bankrolled like by a bigger, like, so probably what they would show to like Xbox or Microsoft kind of thing. So that's why it looks very, very clean, even for pre-alpha. So it looked great. I mean, I'm happy. I know this is gonna sound horrible, but kicking chickens is back, because that's like such a staple of Fable. I mean, in Fable 1, I think you could earn a title for it. You would be called Chicken Kicker. And then I think in Fable 2, it was an achievement where you kick so many chickens or whatever. It's just been like it's like a little, not inside joke, I guess you could say, but it's a staple of what, like you said, that dry humor of what Fable does, that British humor kind of thing. So it was just funny. I saw some people raging about it, and I'm like, obviously, tell me you aren't old enough to know what Fable is without telling me you're not old enough to know what Fable is, kind of thing.
I didn't see that. I'm sure they're part of PETA. And I would imagine that there's going to be some complaints lodged. It's a virtual chicken, folks. It doesn't really exist.
Macer Tech said it was a name you could be called in Fable 2. Yeah. I mean, you could actually have a title and the world around you would react. Chicken
Yes.
kicker, chicken,
Yeah.
they would actually call call you that when you were walking through. So it's just, that's why people, if they don't understand, that's why it's in there. It's a classic part of Fable. It looked amazing. Just the graphics and everything like that. That just looked next level. Let him cook. We have
Yep.
so much to eat right now on the plate, on our table. This first 6 months is stacked. I thought, I was 100% wrong, and I'll definitely admit it. When we had the dev direct, I think, I think you said that it was going to be all within the 6 months. And I was like, no way. They're not going to do a whole 6 months, for the first 6. And it was everything that they showed was, I think, other than Ninja Gaiden. I think
Ninja
everything
Gaiden
else was,
4 is I would imagine fall of this year.
yeah, that was all, 6 months, into it. So we have no idea what's still coming out for the last 6 months. So let them cook, let them do what they're gonna do. That's a game that you have to get right, because there is such, like I was saying earlier, there's such a storied history there. There's such a big fan base of Fable. People that grew up on this game and actually loved, that Fable IP. You want to make sure you get it right. You want to make sure that it's the best looking, it's the greatest playing, whatever it is. Delays aren't bad. I get it. Um, I get it. It's disappointing, for especially for the fan base. I saw a lot of people, not a lot of people. I saw a few people that were pretty upset by it. To me, as I love delays in a sense, because that means more time for the game to cook, and that's what we need. But that's just coming from, like I said, a developer side minded. Of course, I'm definitely upset, that we can't play it sooner as a gamer, but as a former developer, I'm let them do what they got to do. It's only going to make things better in the sense that you're going to get a really, really great game. It did look rough around the edges. We saw some of the combat looked a little sluggish,
A
some of
little
the
stiff. A
animations.
little
Yeah.
stiff. Yeah.
But again, pre-alpha. And who knows how long ago that was? Because I mean, they definitely showed some little snippets that we saw. From some of it was new, but some of it was also the same stuff we saw from the trailer, I think, a while back, or some other trailers we've seen previously. So who knows how long ago this trailer, what it is. It could be in a way much better place, but that's why they have the giant, pre-alpha cautionary thing on the at the bottom, and we know why they say it's not feature complete, it's not done yet. Overall, it just reset my hype. Even though it's a whole nother year out, hype train has left the station for me, and I'm still going 100 miles per hour with it. I just can't wait for 2026.
Yeah, and actually, we're going to get into 2026 because it seems like a ridiculous stacked deck. Fuzzy, I want to bring you in on get your thoughts on the delay, get your thoughts on what you saw with the graphics. And I just want to just refer to something that Korkenstein literally just said about the stiff animation. In some areas, more specifically, when she was standing in front of the werewolf, right? It seemed stiff. Like it was just, they were just showing off what the werewolf and her looked like in this lighting setting. And the werewolf looked ridiculously good. Like the hair looked real. We saw something very similar regarding combat for one of our favorite games of the year. And I'd say the chat would even agree with this in Avowed. Avowed, when it first showed off, a lot of people were like, oh man, that combat, it looks a little stiff. It doesn't seem like when you actually whack someone with a sword that there's any oomph to it. And most reviewers, most people in the community have praised that the standout, besides the graphics looking gorgeous using the Unreal Engine 5, the combat was one of the highlights of many people's reviews because of how satisfying it was. And I think that has to do with the extra time that this studio was able to quote unquote cook, like the kids like to say. And I think you're going to see something very similar with Fable. Fable looks like a complete game. Now, are there missing features? Yes. Does the combat look a little bit stiff? Sure. Did one or two of the animation frames look a little bit stiff? Yes, it absolutely did. But again, quoting Korkenstein, it clearly said that this is pre-alpha and they have a long way to go. So again, we're talking about where we sit now. February 28th, March is tomorrow, right? It was originally releasing, and we all kind of thought fall of 2025, which still is 10 months. And then, of course, if you say, well, it's been delayed to 2026, that has been confirmed. Where in 26 does that fall? I kind of think that, and again, this is just me just spitballing here, folks. You get a January developer direct with Fable, you get a February release. At that point, you have anywhere between 10 and 12 months of additional development for an old build that they're showing. So I don't know, like Korkenstein said, how far from where they were for that build that was shown, where they are now. So I think an additional year of development time really does set the stage for what this game is going to actually be like. And I think very similar to Avowed, it's going to help the game greatly. Let's get your thoughts.
Well, yeah, the delay I think will give them ample time to polish this game even further. Although for me, I like what I saw as far as the pre-alpha stuff. I didn't notice as much the stiffness in the combat, but one of the key things that I do want to talk about, how some people were saying that it wasn't the original trailers weren't real gameplay, and it's distinctly different. Like I still see the fireball throw looking similar, the like almost like the hammer swing looking very similar to the early trailers to now. So I don't know. I think this game is a lot further than we would probably think. I think it was pretty much slotted for this year. For Xbox, it was just a matter of GTA possibly being in that window that would overshadow it. I think they want to give this team it's just desserts as far as allowing them to shine outside the shadow of something like a GTA, for example. Like I think they don't want to have a similar Horizon situation, although Horizon has its own issues. Not Horizon, the racing game, Horizon like Forbidden West and Zero Dawn, where it was in the shadow of Zelda almost basically twice, or maybe it was Elden Ring the second time around. So I think moving it out of the way of GTA, which seems more destined to be a 2025 release.
Yep.
We'll see. But I think that was a smart move as far as them moving it out of the way, giving people ample time to get GTA out of their system by the time Fable comes around. Or maybe it winds up kicking off the beginning of the year next year, much like Avowed did this year. Because we'll see how backed up they get by slotting one of the games from this year to next year. So I think everything that we saw, everything from the chicken kicking to the super rooster that you have to fight.
I was going to say there was whether it was a rooster or a chicken, you're fighting a chicken boss. I mean, how freaking cool is that?
Well, the first thing that came to mind is almost like Witcher 3, where you could kill or slay cows and then sell the hide and stuff like that. And you could keep on doing it to just sleep and then do it again. And then eventually they would send like a cow monster after you. I'm wondering if you keep on kicking chickens, if you wind up having to fight that chicken boss. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that's the result type of deal. That'll be like a way to kind of keep the number of chickens kicked to a reasonable amount or something. But everything looked great. Word from somebody that worked on a bit of it early on, they've actually turned some of the foliage down, and it still looks awesome. Yeah. So I know from the earlier part where everything was, a lot more flourishing in comparison, was also affecting the smoothness of the game. So it looks like they've gotten it to a point where the pacing seems on par where you would expect it for this generation of console and stuff. So they're just going to spend more time polishing, much like we see with Avowed. We'll see if we get 60 frames with that same type of visual prowess. I think we will, considering how well Forza Horizon 5 looks in the 60 frames mode. So looking forward to this game. A little disappointed that it's not this year, but I totally understand, given what big game is coming out around the time they have that slotted. And all things considered, considering how stacked this year is for Xbox and what's coming day and date to Game Pass, like I think we got Atom Fall coming up here, not too far down the road type of deal. I'm fine with it getting pushed. We'll see what June showcase shows for the second half of the year. Pretty sure we're going to have like Outer Worlds 2 and a couple other surprises mixed in there as well. So 2026 already starting to be a stacked year. 2025 was beyond stacked, even without having Fable in it. So yeah, we're going to be good.
Yeah, it's again, we're going to get into 2026, and again, I do want to just keep saying that we're still in February. I know it's the last day, but we're still in the first 2 months of the year. We already know what's happening mostly for the rest of 2025 regarding Xbox Game Pass, what they've announced so far, along with what's coming first party, and it really is just crazy. But Insane Cakes in the chat says, I mean, even that reveal video is probably a few months old, could be much further along than we know. It's a great point. And I mean, listen, you know, there's reasons for delays, folks. I know there are some people running with it that there's trouble. Playground Games is in trouble. That game is not in trouble. It looks absolutely fantastic, and it's pre-alpha. But then again, you know, there are certain content creators that are going to use hate rhetoric to rile up their fan base for money. That's just what it comes down to ultimately. Don't fall for the virtual banana in the tailpipe, folks. Playground Games is okay, and so is Fable. Real quick, before we move on to the next topic, read some super chats here. Dan says, was it a mistake to release Avowed during February? Feels like it's getting heavily overshadowed by Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds. I mean, listen, I think that's a really subjective, because at least in my timeline, all I keep seeing is people not only have played it, beat it multiple times, people completing it 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements, people playing it on max settings on their PC, people enjoying it on Xbox. All I've seen, honestly, I know Kingdom Come Deliverance is a great game, but it has been marred by a lot of bugs, and so has Monster Hunter Wilds. As a matter of fact, there was a particular comment which I'm going to get to as a super chat. So I just did a check on Steam. Right now, there is 1,258,000 people playing in-game Monster Hunter Wilds on Steam. Unfortunately, it has 11,000 reviews, and it's sitting at a 41.66 for PC. Now I don't know what it's sitting on for Xbox or for PlayStation. I'm not buying it. Maybe by end of year. I always buy these games from day one, and I never play them. So I'm just not doing that this year. Monster Hunter Wilds, you got to dedicate yourself to. It's a big game. It's a very big game, and I appreciate what it is. And it, obviously it has similarities to Dragon's Dogma in some way, which I loved Dragon's Dogma 2, and I did not like the first one. Absolutely adored the second one last year. I just don't have enough time. It's either Call of Duty, Avowed. I'm waiting for an update with their New Game Plus, and obviously I'm going to be reviewing South of Midnight in a couple of weeks. So I want to get my hands on that, play through that, do my, get my video review for that. So it's just not enough time in a day. But welcome, Dan. Appreciate you being here, brother. Good question.
I do want to interject with that, because what a lot of people do, it's so silly. They use Steam numbers for Game Pass games, and we got to stop that. Look at Monster Hunter Wilds. It's 1 million. It's overshadowing Avowed. It's like, well, I'm pretty sure they had a lot bigger on Xbox via Game Pass, or even on PC. We really got to stop using Steam numbers for everything. It's not the end all be all. Yeah, it's more of a bigger platform in a sense. But Game Pass games are on Game Pass for a reason. It's to get that user base already installed, so I don't know. That's just usually what it is. When you see that narrative, they're using Steam numbers for Game Pass games.
Look, the one thing I will say is the console wars are super old. They're super played out. They're super boring. Yes, Do we give Sony the business when they make mistakes? Sure. But have we done the same thing for Xbox? Absolutely. No, we don't really talk Nintendo. I know it's a multi-plat show, this one and Prime Time. We talk about Nintendo, what, twice a year? And listen, folks, I'm a Nintendo nerd. You can't see it. I have a shelf with over 100 physical games with a bunch of collector's edition stuff. I love my Switch. I play the Switch every freaking day. If it's not Animal Crossing with Mrs. Boom, it's some sort of shooter that you can only find in Japan. I import a lot of stuff because I like shooters. You know, I'm not talking about first person shooters. I'm talking about what's the term for it? I always mess it up. Shmups, shoot 'em ups. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so that I import a lot of them because they eventually do get there, but I like having the physical. I that's the one thing I do physical is Switch. Everything else is digital. But let me catch up on Super Chats, and then we're going to get into the big topic of the show, and that is what 2026 is going to look like, folks. I forgot some stuff in my tweet because I was listening to actually, again, Dirk Riggedy, who's one of my favorite creators. And, you know, there's quite a few of them, but I like Dirk. He's funny. He swims in those console warrior waters, and he's not ashamed about it. That is just his brand, and we love him for it. And he mentioned some games that I actually had forgotten that are coming, that potentially are coming out. Remember, this is a potential list because things could be moved to the following year, but it's unlikely. We'll get to there in a second. The next super chat of the day comes the way of I got. Oh, wait a second. Okay. I don't know what it says. If the broke boy Lewis, brother, you keep changing your name. I didn't even know that was you. I thought that was somebody else. Holy shit, this is crazy. He says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. Says, saw a PlayStation fanboy on Twitter show Monster Hunter Wild's player count of 1 million concurrent on Steam, saying proves PlayStations are flying off the shelves. Here's my thing. The one thing about PlayStation gamers that are constantly flaming the war of attrition for console sales and stuff, their narrative changes as much as I change my socks. I change my socks every day. I don't know so much about you guys because I work out, so I get my feet get sweaty, so I got to change my socks. That is how often PlayStation fan base gamers change it. I don't know what to say. If it's not games, it's consoles. If it's not consoles, it's games. If it's services, if you like PlayStation, ladies and gentlemen. It's okay. Just any thoughts, Corkenstein, to that what you were saying before? Uh-oh, you're muted, brother.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that? I was reading.
No, that's fine. I was saying that's kind of similar to what you were saying. Any additional context about the whole console war thing that you literally just mentioned?
Oh yeah, it's just silly, it's just the whole Steam things. Wait, did I steal Will Broke Boys? He
didn't say anything. He didn't say anything yet.
Did I do it subconsciously this time instead of intentionally?
Hold on a sec. Will, let us know if your point got stolen again. Let me see if I can read this. Oh my!
I guess it depends on when he sent it. But yeah, it's Steam numbers. I saw the Ruham. He said the same thing. They did it for PlayStation as well. We got to stop. Steam isn't the end all be all. These are titles that are being through subscription services. That's what they're there for, is to make the ease of access and ease of use without having to go through a higher price point and things like that. I don't know. It's just silly to use Steam and use that as like an end all be all when we don't even know the real console numbers, like even Concord, people use the Steam numbers for that, but I'm sure the PlayStation numbers were probably maybe a little higher compared to what Steam was, not by that much, but they were at least a little, probably more than what people were portraying the Steam numbers to be. Things like that, give it a fair shake.
I will say this, and I think where you can use that, and I hate to use the word argument. Don't argue about sales, folks. Are you getting any money from this? Not really. right? You're not winning unless you're heavily invested in these companies. You're winning as a gamer because Xbox Game Pass, if you are an Xbox gamer, is being just loaded with content. It's just more and more and more and more and more to the point where I'm like, listen, I'm the white flag is up. I can't play any games. I stopped downloading stuff because I just download it. It goes to the backlog, and I get a message, "You're out of room." I'm like, oh, shit, I'm out of room. So it is what it is. I think where you can use that in a conversation, and I like to use the word conversation because I like being polite, is if a game is, let's say specifically, like Avowed, for instance. Avowed was in Game Pass day and date, was it not? And was it not number one on Steam for sales around the world? It was. See, that is something that you can be like, wow, people are still buying it, and it's available, quote unquote, for free. So that is where I can see you using those numbers for a conversation. In regards to the sales of the consoles, listen, PlayStation 5 sold and continues to sell really well. You can't deny that. I don't. What's the problem even admitting that? Okay, it sells great, awesome. But did anyone please raise your hand? I've watched it twice. I'm going to watch it again because I think Fuzzy, we're going to cover it on Monday. Did anyone watch that Greg Miller and Matt Piscatella interview? It was really telling, and it broke down exactly who is buying these games. And listen, whether you like Matt or you don't, that guy is a numbers dude, and he knows the business. And I shout out to Greg Miller for once again, he's been having killer interviews, one after another, and that was a great interview. If you missed it, it's up on YouTube now because obviously I get it because I support Kind of Funny behind the scenes, so I always get it the early version of it. I watched it then. I watched it a second time. I'm going to watch it a third time because I like Kind of Funny and I like Greg Miller, but I also I'm a big fan of Matt Piscatella, and he did break down some really, really interesting key points. But gentlemen, before we move on to the big topic of the show, let me just catch up with Super Chats. We got Andre Doyle here. Andre, nice to see you here, brother, and thank you always for the generosity. He says, keep an eye on for both Black State and Project TH. Those are Splinter Cell and Metal Gear Solid real next-gen graphics. I am going to keep an eye on that. With 2 generations without a Splinter Cell, the world is officially crazy. That's all I will say. I mean, I'll even as I said, I know the virtual tomatoes coming, folks. I know it. Just take the original and just give it a new coat of paint. Just from start to finish, use the Snowdrop engine that they use for Division 2. Use that engine for Splinter Cell 1. Are they doing that? Well, that was the rumor. I hope that they still are, but Ubisoft, man, they just, I don't know what to say. We have not have a new Splinter Cell in 2 generations. Like, that is just freaking crazy, man. So if someone else comes out with one, I will gladly support it because I like that spy stuff. We have here Adidas 20, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 super chat. And he goes on to say, good morning and salute to the panel and chat. Salute to you, Adidas 20. Thanks so much for the generosity, brother. Appreciate you being here as always. Gamer by choice. Listen to this, folks. He's been a channel member for, I think, as long as the channel's been around. 65 freaking months. That is just insane. Gamer by choice. Salute to you, kind sir, for the generosity and continued support. He says, sadly, people use all of these numbers to justify their console war purchase and narratives. If they were real gamers, they would be talking about how fun games are, not Metacritic and units sold. I mean, and again, I have to give a lot of credit to the Xbox, and what's really not just the Xbox, the gaming community, because since Avowed's release, again, I clean up my timeline. I block. If you are an a-hole, you're getting blocked. If I see you being an a-hole to someone else and you're not even to me, you're blocked. And how I do this, thanks to, and I learned this, folks, this is a great trick. This is a great, great trick. I learned this from Lord Cognito. how he vets people, whether he follows them or not, is he looks at their last 10 tweets. And their last 10 to 15, I go 15. I expand it a little bit because somebody could just have a bad day and just be a negative person. Doesn't mean they're a bad person, right? So I like giving people an opportunity to F up before I block. I really don't like blocking. So I look at people's last 15 posts. And if it's console war, you're blocked. Because I don't need that in my life. I'm going to be 55 this year. I am too old for this shit. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I'm not going to swim in those waters. But gamer by choice, brother, thank you so much for the generosity. Gentlemen, we got to talk about 2026. Now, I have a story in front of me that does work with the conversation we're about to have. Comes away with purexbox.com, was written by Liam Doolin, posted on Tuesday at 10:45 p.m. So it was later on in the evening. Xbox says it's got a bunch of stuff it hasn't even announced yet. This is coming the way of Craig Duncan, who says that the Fable delay is no biggie. So again, I'm going to read verbatim from the report, folks, so please bear with me. It says Xbox has officially delayed the next chapter of Fable, and although this game has been pushed back to next year, Microsoft's gaming division has obviously still got plenty of other unannounced projects it's still working on behind closed doors. In the recent Xbox Game Studios update, the division's head, Craig Duncan, issued a reminder about this, noting how there's still apparently a lot in the pipeline that hasn't even been revealed just yet. Here's exactly what he had to say. And of course, I'm quoting Craig Duncan, who is the head of Xbox Games Studios. He says, we've got a bunch of stuff we haven't announced. So obviously, I spent a bunch of time with that. But yeah, we have a lot going on. So now I want to move this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, over to 2026. So by the thumbnail, you saw easily, you got Fable, right? You have, let's see, I did a brain fart live on the air. You got Fable, you got State of Decay 3, you got Perfect Dark, which again, is it 2026? It's certainly possible, right? But in that list of games, right, you potentially have the rumored, and I did put that in the tweet, the rumored Halo Combat Evolved remake. That is something that's apparently happening under the Unreal Engine 5. Now, Forza Horizon 6 could be a part of that. I don't think that's this year, folks. I really don't. And I've been banging the drum of the removal of Fable into next year kind of opens the door or the slot for what we've heard by several people in the games media, Tom Warren being one of them, Tom Henderson being another, that they have heard that Gears E-Day is shipping this year. Is that actually happening? I'm not sure. If that slips until next year and they replace that with the Gears of War collection, the rumored Gears of War collection, that's just another bullet in the chamber. But you also have, and again, folks, we don't know where they are in development. Contraband is another one, right? We just heard Phil Spencer talk about Everwild from Rare. We do know that Blade is currently in development. We know that Double Fine is working on a couple of projects. We talked about it yesterday. You have Obsidian working on a third project. Folks, I don't know about you, but the goosebumps have come out because 2026 Korkenstein seems to be a ridiculously stacked deck. Now, just for some context here, I don't know if this was on purpose. I don't know if this is just because they have so many studios and so many games, they actually have to eventually go somewhere. But what is 2026? Well, it is going to be a big year, and it could be the biggest year for Xbox. I originally thought for sure 2025, it can't get any bigger, could it? Well, just look at 2026, because what you have is all of the games, and again, it is room for speculation. We have no idea or any of these games launching there, but the likelihood is that at least half of them will, right? Maybe a Perfect Dark gets moved into 27. I don't know. But next year, you have a couple of anniversaries happening and a couple of really big ones. First of all, it's the 25th anniversary of the actual Xbox platform, which is monstrous. You have the 25th anniversary of Halo Combat Evolved. You have the 20th anniversary happening next year for Gears of War. So if you think about that, along with the rumored, folks, again, this is just rumors, that you're going to get a new console, the Magic Box underneath your TV, as well as the handheld next year, Horkenstein, I got to be honest with you. They seem to not only be hitting on all switches, full steam ahead, but at that point, you get from where we are currently, we're only in the second month of the year, right? We know that they are going to see extreme sales for a lot of the games going to other places for the first time, right? I don't know how many copies of Forza Horizon are going to sell, but it's the number one wish list game on PS5, so it makes sense it's going to do well. How well does Indiana Jones do? Do they release Starfield? I don't know, potentially. So you got to couple that with Nintendo Switch releases, which there's going to be quite a few, right? And then you're moving into 2026, where at this point, they're full on third party publisher. They have now officially become the biggest publisher in gaming by just leaps and bounds. And they're rolling into a year where they're going to have a redonkulous amount of games and potentially 2 new consoles. Let's talk about Xbox in 2026.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, we don't even know, like you said, what's coming up. But I mean, let's just take a look. I mean, we don't know what the next, the last 6 months of the year is gonna hold. But for 2026, I mean, we still have Perfect Dark to find out. We still have State of K3. We still have Everwild. We still have Gears of War E-Day. This is, of course, was announced, last year at the showcase, things like that. Clockwork Revolution. There's so much on the plate. I mean, even if they took 2 away from that, you still have a major AAA first party title releasing pretty much every 3 months, which is the cadence that, Xbox originally wanted for the releases. There's still so much, and we still have a June showcase coming up. And we still
Crazy.
have the TGAs, which are going to have announcements. And we still have Tokyo Game Show.
And can I add one more?
Yeah,
It hasn't been announced, but Ecstasies has already leaked it. If you didn't know who Ecstasies is, please follow this guy. Super connected. YouTube from Spain. Phenomenal human. There is apparently a third-party Xbox partner event happening in March.
Yes, the partner preview pro. Yeah, they usually do that every March. Yeah, I think that's where we might see the Final Fantasy stuff coming out. That makes sense for Square Enix. So yeah, there's a lot that we still don't know and we still don't have, but I mean, we'll see what happens for the end of the year. Especially with the new hardware coming out. I mean, the handheld's been rumored for a while. Who knows? That could be maybe a holiday release this year. It depends how far they are with it. Could be a holiday release next year. To kind of coincide with if they are doing the next gen console. Who knows? But I mean, there's definitely one thing you can't deny that Xbox is cooking. As an Xbox, they're showing more and more reasons why Xbox should be your platform as a gamer. Because you're getting your stuff everywhere. Play Anywhere is starting to take more and more shape. It's starting to show in more and more games. I think Sega's been using it for the last few games that they've released, that they are Play Anywhere titles. More and more people are buying into, or more developers and industry people are buying it. I mean, that's why GDC, they're gonna have that whole, they've been talking about it, the Xbox Play Anywhere. I mean, even Tom Warren had a tweet a while back that people might not remember, where he said this will make sense in a few more weeks, when it was talking about Xbox Play Anywhere. And that might be because, that's where Xbox is going. They're trying to show consumers you can play on cloud, you can play on mobile, you can play on console, you can play on PC. Pretty soon, hopefully, maybe a handheld. We haven't heard anything yet about it. Maybe a handheld. They want to be everywhere and anywhere. And if you can do that with Xbox, you should be it's showing more like why you should be an Xbox consumer. So 2026, you're not going to lose buying into the Xbox ecosystem, buying into the Xbox platform. You aren't going to lose right now. It's just that simple. That may get clipped and people talking about it, but I don't, I don't care. I really don't. You can't lose as an Xbox gamer right now because you are getting the games. You may be getting new systems. Game Passes just keeps on giving more than any of the other subscription services. People can console war all they want, but I found a lot more value for what I'm getting out of Xbox and I'm on all 4 platforms. I'm on, I have a Switch, I have a PlayStation 5, I have a pretty decent PC, and I have an Xbox. And the most value, the most bang for my buck that I'm getting as somebody that's on every system is Xbox.
I mean, you can't argue that. I mean, again, just for some shits and giggles here, folks. You pay what do you pay per year? Was it $240? Is that before tax? Let's just say for shits and giggles, $250 if you pay full boat for Game Pass. If you pay full boat for Game Pass, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to call you a name or anything. I would say, please, as your friend, go check out cdkeys.com. I'll leave it at that. Go search cdkeys.com. You win even more. But if we are just being fair, if it was just the 4 games I have in the thumbnail, Perfect Dark, State of Decay, Halo, and Fable, let's just say that is all that's happening in 2026. And you buy these games, each one of these games are probably going to have a $100 edition, right? There's going to be some sort of a $30 upgrade that you're going to be able to get a little cheaper through Game Pass for Perfect Dark for additional missions, right? It's the new digital thing, right? It's the new horse armor, if you will, gentlemen. And you know something? I'm okay with it. You get early access, you get an outfit, you get a couple of guns. It's fine. And if you're playing through Game Pass, you're still supporting the dev, quote unquote. That's the thing, support the dev. And Xbox is still making money if that means anything to you. I just get Game Pass because I'm a retired guy and it works for my budget. So it's awesome. If it was just those 4 games, gentlemen, you already won, right? Because that's 4 first party games, potentially 1 per quarter, and that is way more than the $240 you're spending if you spend $240. But when you add additional things like Forza Horizon 6, like Everwild, when is Clockwork Revolution releasing? That's another one I totally forgot about. How about this one? What about Contraband? When is that coming out? I don't know if that's this year. Maybe it's a shadow drop. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's let them cook. It's next year. That's just more games that we're gonna have to figure out what. There's gonna come a point for us, Belvedere, where we're gonna look at the list of games. I'm gonna be like, you know what? F you, Xbox, because now I don't know what to do with myself. I only this last time I checked, there were only 24 hours in the day. I only have 2 pairs. I have a pair of hands. Let's say 2 pairs of hands. That would have been great. I have a pair of hands and not enough time in the day to enjoy gaming because I'm podcasting, I'm working out, and I'm also taking care of the house while Mrs. Boom is working. So that my time is very spared. It's sparing. So with that said, though, let's talk 2026. Now, before we actually do, let me just catch up. And thanks to you, because there was a couple of super chats that I did not see that for some reason the software did not pick up. So we have one here from Jay Slay. Now, Jay, apologies, brother. I didn't see it on my end, but thank you so much for the very generous $2 super chat. It says, "What's up, Boom? Have you seen the Terminator 2D trailer?" Bro, I have watched that like 3 or 4 times. That gave me some old school, like Super NES feels. Do you remember? And I'm old, folks. You're probably not going to remember this. It's okay. Does anyone in the class remember RoboCop versus the Terminator that came on the Super Nintendo. It came in a black hard case cover. I don't have it anymore. I'm so mad that I never kept that. It was because you played as RoboCop versus the Terminators, a phenomenal game. That is the vibes that I got from this. It is a day one buy for me. I'm probably going to buy it on the Switch and on the Xbox because I want to support this dev. I want more of this. So we have other super chats here. So let me just get to those. We have one from Dead Pixel drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I'm saying it next year. We get the rumored Wu-Tang. Oh my God, the Wu-Tang Clan. You know what's interesting? Because of course I'm in New York. They're going on tour, like a farewell tour this summer. I don't know if anyone saw that. I mean, look, I'm not saying that their final farewell tour is going to somehow work into the release. It would be kind of freaking dope if they did, because obviously I wouldn't mind going to see them, and I certainly wouldn't mind getting their game this year. But that's another one I totally forgot about, the Wu-Tang Clan game, and that they're working on that right freaking now. Thank you so much for the reminder, brother. Super appreciate it. BT Maverick 707 drops a very generous $5 super chat. BT goes on to say, there's nothing stopping Xbox from backporting their hybrid OS to this current gen's hardware, giving games more access to PC stores, Steam, Epic, and GOG, or Good Old Games. I mean, listen, I don't remember who said it, and I'm so sorry I didn't. Yesterday in the chat for Meet with Me and C Money, the chat member mentioned that he thought, and I completely went right over my mohawk, that this is going to be where they show off the OS that is the OS that looks like your console, but on everything else. When you put it on your phone, you turn on your tablet, you turn on your TV, you turn on your computer, it's all going to be this one OS to rule them all. That makes a lot of sense to why they would show up at GDC and talk about it. It makes a lot of sense. I had a theory on the back end of that of course they're going to launch this OS, and it's going to be what we see in our console is kind of what I want to see everywhere else, and I think I'm not the only one that says that. So you're familiar with it. One UI, just the same thing everywhere. But this is GDC. We know they're working on their own handheld. I'm not suggesting it's going to be there, because that would be crazy. But they do have to show this thing working on something, right? Like, it makes sense. What is that something? Are they actually going to show a piece of freaking hardware there? I don't know. But if they do, rest assured, we will be reporting on that as soon as that drops. We have here Thanaros, who's been a channel member, folks. Jesus Christmas, this is crazy. 64 months. Thanaros, brother, that is crazy generous and kind of you. He says, TGIF indeed. I love getting here. Not just stuff for me, because I'm retired. I'm happy to get here so Mrs. Boom could recharge her batteries over the weekend, because it's always about her. But let me bring this back into, of course, talking about gaming. Forza Belvedere, let's talk 2026, because you are still standing on this one square that says that you think Forza Horizon is this year. And you know what? I'm not going to push you off the square, right? You might be onto something. And it would be pretty wild that Forza Horizon 5 launches on PlayStation and Xbox gamers get Forza Horizon 6 in the same year. That would be kind of crazy. But let's just say for shits and giggles that it moves into 26. I don't know when first of all, with the amount of games that we discussed openly, that's probably one per month. And I don't know if they actually do that, because then everyone's eating each other's lunch, so to speak.
Yeah.
Some of those games are big, but man, 2025 is already a stacked deck. It looks like it's going to be a banner year for Xbox. Good points of view from everybody in the chat and on the panel. I think it's in the bag, so to speak. Publisher of the year, like that's easy for them to win Publisher of the Year. But when you look to 2026, dude, bro, that's just crazy. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, right now our year is pretty stacked, but it's going to be even more heavy weighted come 2026. Like Everwild, I think stands a chance of being this year. We'll see if it's shown at Gamescom or if it's shown at the June showcase. I think it's closer than people probably think. There's still Perfect Dark. I think Perfect Dark winds up being 2026. State of Decay 3, probably 2026. Elder Scrolls 6, we'll see. I kind of think it's 26, but we'll see if it gets pushed to 27. Now, but there's a couple other things. With Bethesda, they also have their online group, or I guess ZeniMax Online. I'm pretty sure they're working on something, and rumor has it it's not what do you call it, Starfield Online kind of thing. It's something else. We'll see if it's a licensed IP or if it's something completely unexpected. I'm kind of hoping they go for a different genre, since they already have high fantasy, they already have sci-fi or space, they already have post-apocalyptical. Let's see if we can see something along the lines of like Cyberpunk, or like a what's the other one? I forget the other movie, but yeah, for the most part, have something in that type of genre. Oh, Blade Runner, that's what it is. Have something, with that timeline. We'll still see how far along Machine Games is between, they're supposed to be working on two more. I forgot
about those two. Jesus, man.
They're working on two more, Indiana Jones. Plus, we also have the expansion, or the DLC. There's another expansion being talked about probably later on this year for Diablo. There's that. Is it Everywhere? No, because Everywhere I think is the other game from Rocket Boy. But there's that studio that was made by Activision that, it's probably been incubated for at least a year or two. So we'll see if we get to see what their game is for that year. I like how people still remember the Wu-Tang game, which I'm looking forward to. Hopefully that either gets shown this year or possibly stealth drop this year. But if not, next year. Replace, I know, is not first party, but it's already been announced for next year. Smaller developer. They're definitely working as hard as they can. Silksong is another one, not first party, but still within the day and date on Game Pass. We also have, like you were saying, with Forza Horizon, I think we get to see 6 this year. I don't know if we get it this year. The number 6 and 26 seems to, I think, will go hand in hand kind of thing. But we also have Ninja Theory. They have 2 projects, one of them being Project Mara.
Oh my God, dude, I totally freaking forgot about that. Holy shit, that's crazy.
So they also have, I think they got approved for Hellblade 3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they're working on something, I think, totally different in between that. So we'll see how far along that is. But I think we'll see something or hear something about Project Mara within this year, possibly for next year. We know Obsidian has been churning out games on a regular basis. So they already have Outer Worlds 2 for this year. I don't know how long or how far along they would be on that other project, or if it's if there's a second project on top of that, with it being something in the Fallout universe. But they had this original Xbox One launch pitch for a game called Stormlands. So maybe that is one that they're working on, or they could be working on a Grounded 2 at this point. But they'll more than likely have something for next year as well. When it came to, and I know you made mention of it earlier, but you also have Double Fine. And Double Fine has at least 2 known projects, or let's say 2 within reasonably known projects.
I think they're
one of them
working
being
on
that
2.
Kiln.
Yes.
And then the other one, I don't think is Psychonauts 3. I think it is what's the one with Jack Black? Brutal Legend 2.
Brutal Legends 2 would be freaking amazing. Did anyone ever play that? Oh my God, that game was freaking amazing. It's interestingly enough, when I was going through my collectibles, I had gotten rid of a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I found that the collector's edition that I bought, I forgot I had this. I actually have the vinyl for Brutal Legend in my collection of vinyls. Dude, that's freaking awesome, bro. I forgot. Dude, isn't it crazy that we just keep talking and more games keep popping out of the hat and like, wait, hold on a second. What is happening here? But Xbox is dying, gentlemen. I want you to know that. I want to make sure that is in the hashtag Xbox not better.
They're the longest living or surviving zombie ever because they're always dead as far as according to the gaming media or PlayStation fans. So it is what it is. But in Exile, we know about Clockwork. I keep on wanting to say Clockwork Orange. Clockwork Revolution is more than likely going to be next year if it doesn't land at the tail end of this year. I think they probably give them a little bit more time. But they also have another project that they're working on, whether it be another Wasteland or it winds up being possibly a remaster or a reworking of the earlier Fallouts. We'll see if that's in the cards. But there's just so many games. There were so many game studios, and I know I'm probably missing about another 5 studios that have multiple teams. Like Blade, I still think might be a 2027 deal, but
that makes sense.
They're still working on their game. There's more studios that have multiple teams. Like Blizzard definitely has something that they're going to put together between now and possibly 2027 that will be in the StarCraft universe more than likely. We'll see. And Marvel Rivals has caused the Overwatch team to kind of reevaluate some things, and now they'll definitely be doubling down on adding more content and possibly looking at that single player aspect as far as just more than quick story content and see where they go from there. But there's just so many games, so many studios, so many teams working on games between now and the launch of the next Xbox, which I still have a gut feeling we see something at the what do you call it, at the Game Awards this year for the hardware that will possibly be coming holiday next year. So I think we do see a next gen console, or at least at that point possibly a handheld. We will see the Xbox OS later on this year, where you can install it or install it on an already owned Steam Deck, or a ROG Ally or Legion Go or MSI Claw or any of the other small or lesser known handheld PCs out there. Or if you want to take and build a regular PC but run it as a Xbox console with all the bells and whistles. Shout out to Everborn Saga is kind of doing something like that. Although
he's running a build like that. Yep.
Although I think he's running Steam with another layer that makes it look like Xbox. And you can use the Xbox controller.
Big picture mode. He does that. That's what he does with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but with the Xbox OS being tested, and we'll see more of it more than likely around the June showcase, if not sooner, possibly even at GDC along with the AI stuff. Yeah, they got a lot of stuff cooking, and I would say prepare for 2026 to be that all-out year. 25 years of Xbox. Yeah, I think they're going to have at least another 25 more, despite what people say as far as hardware. But 26 is going to be a big year for them, so we'll see.
Well, listen, before we get out of here, actually, one more additional game that I totally forgot about is thanks to BT Maverick 707. He says, don't forget about the Kojima's OD game.
Yeah.
And we know who he's working with, Jordan Peele. Like, he's leading the charge with Jordan. And we know Jordan does great horror stories. We know, and I'm sure your wife is going to get excited for this, Fuzzy Belvedere, is the fact that they could be working with a lot of other, like, legendary horror directors. So it's whatever they're cooking up over there, they've been working on it for a while. You've seen a lot of actors actually get in there. They're taking pictures with Kojima. What are they working on? It's going to be episodic for sure. It's going to be the way it at least has been described by people I've talked to, like an anthology kind of a thing, where you're going to have multiple episodes, or short form, maybe they're 4-hour game that works into another character that they all meet at the back end of this game. and it's this overarching world of OD. I can't listen. There's some people just literally someone in the chat said, "Oh, Kojima's overrated." I get it if that's how you feel. I'm a big fan of Kojima. I've been since Metal Gear. I really have been. Um, are his stories wacky? Freaking absolutely. Like even when you're just locked in, I want to know what this game is, and it's supposed to be a military thing. You get a vampire or something like that, or something really wacky happens. You're like, yeah, you lost me, Kojima. This really just went crazy. The President of the United States has octopus arms. What's happening here? So that's the reality, but it's okay because that's the way he tells stories. It's fine. Let me just catch up on super chats here. And we will get everyone out of here, folks. You can start your day. Let's see what we got here. We have a new channel member, Coach Hooded Canuck. Hey, brother, but thanks so much. You're here every day. Appreciate you supporting the channel. He goes, he's also drops a member chat. And again, since he's been a channel member for 11 months, 11 months on Boom's channel. Boy, has time flown by. Thank you, Boom, for introducing me to a great community. Thank you, bros. Yeah, I mean, listen, look, there are trolls all over the place. Lito Papa, who is, of course, in the chat, as he always is, making these streets safe for you. So please throw that man a congratulations because he does it well. And he gives people enough rope to hang themselves, so to speak. People can come in. If you're a PlayStation guy or gal, it's okay. You're welcomed here. It's when you start getting nasty and you start riling up the chat that you get banned. Because we're not here for that. We're here to celebrate whatever we're talking about. We're here to celebrate, and a lot of times, yes, that is some PlayStation news. When they get it right, it's why wouldn't you celebrate them? We're gamers. I'm excited for the PlayStation community. They're getting Forza Horizon 5 because they don't have a racer like that. They did, and supposedly, and again, this is a massive rumor that they're supposedly working on something MotorStorm. Now I'm gonna say this right now. I know that I give them crap for their remasters of games that came out last year and they're remastering it. That's not good. But yes, if you give me a remake or a remaster of the original MotorStorm, I don't care if it's $70. I'm buying that because MotorStorm was one of my favorite racers of all time. More specifically on the PlayStation 3, I absolutely adored it. It was freaking phenomenal. But ladies and gentlemen, let me just catch it. Oh, we have of course he's done it. Nino Vistic, our generous friend, all the way from Hawaii. Aloha to you and the fam, my brother. He has gifted one Double Barrel Gaming membership. That's very kind of you, as you do almost every show, and we truly appreciate your generosity. Let's get everyone out of here. I just want to say a big thank you to all of the super chats, all of the channel memberships that continue to come in. I want to thank the early 700 people watching live on a Friday morning. Hopefully you enjoyed the show enough to do a couple of things. One, please hit the like button. You don't think it matters, but it does. If you're not already subscribed, we are a pinch under 300 away from 16K. Now, again, that may not be a big deal for you, but it's a big deal for me and Mrs. Boom as we continue forward to our ultimate goals of 25K and 50K and maybe one day 100,000 subscribers. That would be dope. I need what we're waiting for in the channel. It usually happens in that 7-8 year mark. We have someone join the show that shouldn't be here. Like, let's say, for instance, Post Malone happened to just want to be on the show. I'd bring Post Malone in here and we talk games. And then somehow, because he joined, I would have 1 million subscribers. That's how it usually works. Is Post Malone going to join Mr. BoomStick XL? It's unbelievably unlikely. I am going to say he just released some Oreo cookies that are delicious. I will say that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. Korkenstein, let's sell the brand, kind sir. Please tell us what you got going on with, of course, Xbox Game Pass Gumbo. Do you have any, of the content ready to rock and roll? What are you going to be using? Because again, I would imagine that there's something, and interestingly enough, I think it would work really well because Avowed allows you to cook some weird things. Maybe you guys can incorporate that. That would be dope. What's going on with the other Xbox channel that is supposed to be coming back in a big way? And more importantly, where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, big thank you again. Fuzzy, Boom, as always, you guys are the goats. Here talking with you guys, just
Thank you, sir.
absolutely amazing. Your community as well. We had some really great conversations here in the chat. A lot of great, knowledgeable people as well. Like I said, you got one of the best chats here in the gaming space. For me, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. Just look up the Korkenstein. That's it, Korkenstein. Either one. Just look that up and you'll find me there. We did actually have it avowed for Game Pass Gumbo, and just being
Nice.
the absolute legend. We didn't do a cooking one yet. We didn't do a cooking one video part yet, but just being the absolute legend that he is, and just all around great dude. Jesse from Xbox Era joined the podcast.
Great human being.
Yeah, last Sunday. So we did a podcast, or Saturday. We did a podcast. You guys can find it via Game Pass Gumbo. Our link. I'm gonna see
Throw
if
it
I
in the
can
chat,
find it
brother.
while I'm
Yeah, throw it in there, man.
but yeah, so it was really, really great. He was very knowledgeable. He talked with us about a lot of really, really cool things. And it was just all around solid guy. We also got Xbox Talk still working. We are looking actually at maybe doing like a little radio kind of thing that's just going to constantly play. So I'll have trailers going, some music things, things of that nature. Which we're looking at right now, just a little kind of behind the scenes. I am talking with more and more developers to try and get on maybe some more lists so that I can, start doing reviews and previews a little bit better. But yeah, overall, we got some things cooking. Just be on the lookout. Follow me on Twitter. You'll see it all there.
I'm sorry to be laughing. Yeah, I know. No, you did great as always, but this is a comment. This is a comment that I have to read live on the air because I'm gonna hate myself if I don't. Why so serious? Why do you hate me, sir? He says Boom eats post cream filling. My God, thank God he said that at the end of the show, because I would not be able to continue to do the podcast. Oh my God, why so serious? I love you, brother. That is great. That is comment of the year, and we're only in early March. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand, but not
That's
just
so
your
great.
brand. I do want to sell the brand of the misses as well. Korkenstein, great stuff. Please drop that link into the chat a couple of times so people could check out that, because Jesse, let me tell you something. Xbox Era gets a lot of hate. I honestly don't understand why. And maybe it's a me thing because I know them. I know Jesse. I've actually hung out with John and the wife. We did last year, Korkenstein. Great humans. And of course, Special Nick is an absolute doll of a guy. Like, he is as nice as you could possibly want as a community member. And he's fun. He has connections. And Xbox Era as a whole, they are an amazing site. If you're not following them, you probably should, because they do great work. And Jesse is one of the hardest working guys in the business. I mean, honestly, he does reviews. I don't know how he does them, but I think he's doing, what review is he doing? Is it the Monster Hunter review that he's doing? He's doing something right now that I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't want to undertake that. It's too much. And he gets them done. Like, he puts in the work. So yeah, please go check out that interview with Jesse Norris. Again, great human being. I've had him on the show many times. Super knowledgeable. But Fuzz Belvedere, let's sell the brand of course, the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre, which of course is on your YouTube channel, which of course we want to, folks, please go support this man. He's on so many shows. We want to see his podcast and his channel grow. And he's sitting under 500 subs. I mean, come on. He's on every show. Sub this man, please. But we also want to sell the brand of the missus. She has a horror podcast, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday evenings calls, Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe to both of your YouTube channels? But more importantly, follow you guys on social media.
Oh, as always, greatly appreciate having me on here today. Always love doing this podcast with you, Boom, as well as you, Korkenstein. Just love talking about games and looking forward to 2025 and even 2026 as far as everything that's in Game Pass on Xbox, and pretty much on every platform out there. It's going to be a pretty busy couple of years. Despite closures and whatnot, we got a lot of games to play. Support the devs that have been playing their games, whether it's through subscription or purchase, or just spreading the word to friends that you should try this game, because there's plenty of them out there to give a try. But for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, follow me on pretty much all social media. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. That includes for YouTube as well. And then for those that are into horror, whether it's games or movies, subscribe to Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. I'm going to put the link in the chat. And tonight's episode will be around some YouTube short horror films, I guess you could say. One of them being Vanilla Cake.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, pretty dark. There's also Ignore It, which is another short film. And then the last one that we'll be talking about tonight is The Noise Next Door. All of these films are like under 20 minutes, I think. So it's a nice break from like your 2-hour films. But these directors or producers of these short films definitely have a lot of potential. Definitely worth checking out on YouTube. Like I said, Vanilla Cake, short film. You might have to put short film in the search. Same thing with Ignore It, also short film. And then The Noise Next Door. Those will be the films we'll be talking about tonight. So hope to see you guys in the chat. Check out those films on YouTube. It's about 15, 20 minutes each. And have a good weekend and play some games and watch some horror films. So take care.
Enjoy, brother. Real quick, we have Gamer by Choice, who's been a part of the man since inception. He has gifted 1 Double Barrel Gaming membership, brother. That is very kind of you, as always, and we appreciate the long-term support that you've sent us over here after all those years. Spartan661 is another gentleman, gamer. He has been a channel member, ladies and gentlemen, for 19 months, and he goes on to say this: Mr. BoomStick XL is one of the GOATs of the podcasting community and is very welcoming to all gamers. Bro, that is incredibly kind of you, and we definitely appreciate the support. 19 months is nothing to sneeze at. And again, it does really go a long way for us, especially when we have to update our software. I mean, we have a lot of programs that we pay for yearly, and these things sometimes are $100-$200. Like how I build all my thumbnails, I use Canva, which again is freaking phenomenal. And that's the hardest thing for me. Talking on the mic, super easy. Getting in front of the mic, no problem. Thumbnails, my God, that was my Achilles heel for years, and now I have finally figured it out. And these programs, I wish they were free. Unfortunately, they're not. And a lot of the stuff that we do get is thanks to the channel members and the super chats that come in. But we also turn that back around and put that back into the community, which is something we're going to do. Again, the year's a little kind of crazy so far, so we don't want to announce anything, because some of the big contests last year, we had to dip into certain funds that we're saving for our first home. But when we make the promises, we keep them. And last year we gave away over $4,500 worth of prizes. We're going to try to at least match it. I don't know. We'll see how the year plays out. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. A big thank you to everyone that tuned in. A big thank you once again to all of the super chats and the channel member chats that pop in. And for Fuzzy Belvedere, for Corkenstein and myself, I want to wish you guys and gals a great weekend. And I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.